So U.S. soldiers are no longer mandated to take the flu vaccine, right? But when you look at the National Institute of Health, there's at least 17 different vaccines that U.S. soldiers take because they are routinely exposed to infectious diseases in situations in which some of these infections can spread and proliferate. I don't understand this, I would say, hatred of the flu vaccine. And it just boils down to like how stupid some of these people are. Because I'm just gonna say, like, if you are sitting around and thinking that the greatest thing to focus on in this current day is not like our supply our supply chain constraints, not considering the fact that we may have to revamp the ways in which we think about what kind of weapons we produce. It's not about our I'll say our ability to build ships in the present day because the US Navy's always backed up. No, it's the flu vaccine that we have to worry about. And the part that got me was the multi-camera, because he sat down in a chair, and I can't really talk because I'm on a camera. But the fact is, our Secretary of Defense is sitting around projecting importance, saying that because the flu vaccine is gone, we are strong again. And he's returning medical autonomy and freedom. And they keep talking about freedom. And it always frustrates me because it's always freedom to always put other people at risk. It's always freedom to basically judge and discriminate against other people. It's always freedom to just be the most terrible version of yourself, but it's not freedom to like make things better. Like, it's never that for them. And like this brings me to the case, like, okay, you have the freedom to not take the flu shot, right? I consider it like, if you're going to be a part of a community and if you're going to be a part of the US military, right, you would probably try to make sure that the people that you're going to be serving with don't get infected by a disease that you have, right? The flu, right? Which kills people every single year. And like, my last part that annoys me about all this is that these people, right, these whatever, right, these big strong men, the one thing they love talking about is cutting costs. We have to cut costs. Everything's too expensive. And I want them to think about, like, what's more expensive? Preventing the disease with a vaccination, or suffering the consequences that may have you be hospitalized in the United States of America or on a military base? And it's just so stupid. Like, it's just so annoying. Like, everything that they do, all of these like stupid culture war victories for them, because this isn't a real policy. It's just a distraction. But it just goes into like how they think about these decisions. And I'm considering, if they consider this a cultural victory, which will propel them to win over all of the U.S. military, because they don't have to take the flu vaccine anymore, but they got to take the 16 other vaccinations, right? How else? What other ways do they think about governing, or what else do they use to think about military action? Because how was this ever a priority? This is not the main issue. This is not the priority issue for the United States military. Like, first of all, like, has the Pentagon passed an audit? Is the Pentagon going to actually be able to develop its own materials? Which, was a funny case, because I heard about a Marine who was able to 3D print, I think, antennas for their radios, which break regularly. And they have a contract with a company that has a 6-month lead time and like a 10,000% price increase, compared to what it would cost if the U.S. military, aka the Marines, just had their own fleet of 3D printers that can print out these antennas in, 10 hours, and it costs like either less than $1 or a couple dollars. And I remember it could save $600,000. Like, that would be a priority. Hey, we're going to do the right to repair law for the United States military. No, instead, we don't have to take the flu vaccine, because that's gonna solve the problems. Especially considering that Donald Trump wants to spend more money on the U.S. military, and the U.S. military has a waste problem. It has a price markup problem with our defense contractors, or our defense companies, right? But instead, we get the flu vaccine because that fixes the main issue, right? Not the us being over leveraged as an entire country, because we increasingly don't have control over how we spend money in the U.S. military, and we never kind of fix the issues in which people consider it the golden goose that you could just keep on taking money from. but we get no flu vaccine, right? You have freedom. You have the freedom to not take a flu vaccine because that will solve the problems that we have. And you know what? They probably did win because they probably want this reaction. But it's just like stupid because it feeds into the other issues with people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now I'm just going off at this point, but I don't these very stupid ideas about health. I don't understand it. Like we're supposed to get smarter, right? We have all the information in the world to understand what influenza can actually do to people, right? I don't understand why we want to live like 1800s farmers who never took a shower in their entire life. They smelled. I don't want to live like that. I don't want to live in a world where, hey, I get a disease and then I just die instead of just getting the vaccination. I don't know. These people like they celebrate the 1800s as this like wonderful place and time period to go back to. They didn't have clean water. Like this is the thing that I get into. Like you could like drink something and then you would just randomly die and they'd be like, "Oh, the Lord took him." These people are just so stupid. You know, it was probably the only sober time in his life too, right? He was probably sober for once in his life. He's like, let me get these angles right because I'm gonna solve the problems of the U.S. military by saying we don't have to take the flu vaccine anymore. Hoorah, or whatever he wants to say. I just think it's so dumb. It's all just it's the wrong focus.